Your house insurance keeps climbing. But the thing everyone blames, it's already falling. So someone's keeping the difference. And they're not in this country. See where your premium really goes, and you'll never read a renewal letter the same way again. It starts with the morning the ground broke open under Christchurch. It ends with a stranger in Zurich who'll never see your street. At 4:35 in the morning on the 4th of September 2010, the ground under Christchurch broke open. Then, in the middle of a working lunch hour on the 22nd of February 2011, it broke again, and this time it took the city with it. 185 people died. 4 major quakes, 11,000 aftershocks, the earth refusing to sit still for 2 solid years. The bill came to over $40 billion. Roughly a fifth of the entire economy of this country, shaken loose in a matter of seconds. To this day it remains the second costliest earthquake for insurers in human history, behind only Japan. Whole suburbs were written off. And so it turned out was an insurance company. Because there was one Kiwi insurer that had tried to go it alone. AMI. No proper reinsurance net stretched out beneath it. No big global backstop, just confidence and a balance sheet. So when the ground moved, that confidence fell straight through the floor. AMI collapsed. It cost the taxpayer $1.48 billion to catch the wreckage, and what was left got sold to Australia's IAG by Christmas. Go without the cover, and it turns out the excess is your whole company. But losing one company is the small story. Here's the big one. A country of 5 million people cannot pay for a $40 billion disaster. We simply don't have it down the back of the couch. So who actually did? About 72% of that bill was never paid by anyone in New Zealand at all. It was paid in Zurich. It was paid in Munich. By reinsurers, the people who insure the insurers, sitting 18,000 kilometers away, in cities I'll never visit. The world, quietly, picked up nearly 3/4 of the tab for Christchurch, global risk pooling, working exactly as it's meant to. A good day. And that's the trouble with a good day like that. When it stops being good, it explodes. Because once Zurich writes you a check that size, Zurich changes its mind about you. And this, right here, is why we have the Swiss looking down on us. Not for our scenery, for our accidents. They read the new claim history, reached for a thicker pen, and re-rated the whole country as high risk. The cost of reinsuring New Zealand more than doubled. And a doubled reinsurance bill doesn't stay in the Alps, it comes home, and it lands in every single renewal letter, including mine. So my house insurance went up again this year. Same house, same street, bigger number. I rang to ask why, and the woman on the phone, politely, honestly, couldn't really tell me. Not her fault. The real decision wasn't hers to make, and it wasn't even made in this country. So who does make it? Follow the logo at the top of the letter, and you'll find out who's really holding the pen. It might say, State, or AMI, or NZI. Reassuring, local-sounding names, the kind you'd trust to mind the buck. But who actually owns them? All three answer to one company, IAG in Sydney. The other big one, Vero, AA Insurance, owned by Suncorp, also Australian. Between those two Australian giants, they cover about 80% of every house in this country. Only Tower, listed here in New Zealand, is still actually ours. So that Kiwi insurer on your fridge magnet. Frankly, the policy's got an Aussie accent. But here's the thing, even those Australian parents aren't where the buck stops. They're not the last name on the claim either. Because no insurer, Kiwi or Aussie, could survive what this country can throw at them, so they buy their own cover. It's called reinsurance, And it's bought from a tiny club of global giants, Munich Re, in Germany, Swiss Re, in Zurich. About 20 cents of every dollar I pay catches the next flight to the Alps, and before you reach for the pitchfork, that's not a rort. That 20 cents is the only reason my cover exists at all. Why does an insurer need insurance? Because we live on a fault line, and someone has to be standing behind the people standing behind me when the ground moves. AMI found out what happens when nobody is, so the pipe runs from my kitchen to Sydney to Zurich. You'd think that's as bad as it gets. You'd be wrong, because then it got worse, and this time not even because of us. In January 2023, the entire global reinsurance market hardened harder than it had in a generation. Hurricane Ian, the war in Ukraine, 40-year high inflation. Reinsurance capital squeezed by 16%. Worldwide, catastrophe rates jumped over 37% in a single year, the biggest leap since 1992. The whole planet's premium went up, and we were already sitting on the high-risk end of the bench where the Swiss had parked us. And then the sky fell on us too. The Auckland Anniversary floods. Cyclone Gabrielle tore through Hawke's Bay. Together, nearly $4 billion insured, the two biggest weather events in our history. The previous record, a hailstorm. Suddenly, it was raining claims, and the reinsurers and their neutral little alpine officers were watching the radar over Hawke's Bay like the rest of us, only with a calculator open. So our reinsurance costs rose another 25 to 40%. Stats NZ clocked house insurance up nearly 25% in a single year. And over the long run, Consumer NZ reckons it's up over 900% since the year 2000. 900%. No wonder the renewal letter now arrives with the heft of a phone book. Now, that's the honest case, and I'll give it its due in a minute. But remember the first thing I told you. The thing everyone blames is already falling. Here's the part that should actually make you angry. That hard global market, the one everyone blamed. It's already turned. Through 2024, 2025, into this year, abundant capital flooded back in. Reinsurance rates fell about 12% at the start of 2025. 12% again this January. The very cost that pushed my premium up is now, with Swiss precision, ticking back down like a cuckoo clock. So why isn't my renewal letter? If the cost is falling, where's my no-claims goodwill? Follow the money a little further, and the picture gets harder to call neutral. The same reinsurers who told us those rises were unavoidable, just the cost of doing business with a shaky little country, Munich Re, Swiss Re, the Big Four, booked €11 billion of combined profit. Their best year ever. The bad weather frankly was very good to them. Then look at the Australian parents. IAG's New Zealand profit leapt to $500 million in a single year, up over 900% off a Gabrielle hit year before, a 22% margin. The parent doubled its dividend. Suncorp's Kiwi arm cleared around $230 million. So when the savings finally come, where do they go? They catch the same flight the premiums did. To Sydney, to Zurich, as dividends. They do not come back to my kitchen table. There is no return leg on that ticket. Now before you cancel your policy in a rage, here's the honest case for the defense. Because this channel doesn't do cheap outrage. The reinsurer in Zurich is not a villain. They are, genuinely, the reason you're covered at all. No reinsurance, no policy, no rebuild, just ask AMI. New Zealand really is one of the most dangerous patches of ground on Earth to own a house, a fault line, and a flood map laid one on top of the other. And the move everyone's making, risk-based pricing, charging your actual address instead of the street average, is arguably fairer, not less. Why should the bloke up the hill subsidize the house in the swamp? Our own tower led it. When they did, 90% of customers paid about $70 less. Only the riskiest 10% paid more. The Reserve Bank calls that rational. And it is. That's not the cover story, that's the truth. But fairness has a cliff edge of its own, sometimes a literal one. Because once you price the real risk of a place, what happens to the places that don't price up at all? Some of them stop being insurable, full stop. In Westport, after floods in 2021 and again this year, AA Insurance simply stopped writing new policies, the whole postcode. No new cover at any premium. In South Dunedin, 2,700 homes sit within 50 centimetres of the high tide, and the council is quietly weighing whether to hand the land back to the sea. In the Esk Valley, around 700 homes have already been bought out and red-zoned, managed retreat, happening now today. A peer-reviewed study found that 99% of 10,000 coastal homes across our 4 big cities can expect insurance retreat within a decade. 99%. And the Reserve Bank now counts 60,000 uninsured Kiwi homes as a risk to the banks themselves. 60,000 families one storm from having no cover and no out. So understand what this story stopped being about somewhere back there. It stopped being about my bill. It's now about whether your home can be insured at all. So here's where I landed, standing at the bench with that letter in my hand. The system is real. The risk is real. The reinsurer in Zurich isn't a villain, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But rational and fair to me are not the same word, and neutral isn't the same as on my side. The cost flows offshore because the risk does. Fair enough, that much is watertight. The trouble is, when the risk eases, the cost doesn't seem to find its way home. It stays high and dry in Sydney. It stays in Zurich, banked, neat, frankly out of reach. Same house, same street, and a price decided in a city I'll never visit, by people who'll never see my street, never stand at my bench, never feel the floor move. So that's the answer. The cost came down, the bill didn't. Not because the reinsurers are crooks, not because the system's a scam, but for a reason, much simpler and much harder to fix. The people deciding the price aren't the people paying it. If you own a home in this country, you're in this pipe too. Every premium you post is on the same flight to the Alps. I'll keep following where the money goes, and whether any of it ever comes back. Subscribe, and we'll trace the next one together.